Welcome to the FPL USA Press Play podcast. We have two of the hosts behind the mics this afternoon during the international break, and we are going to preview game week 8. I'm very happy to be rejoined by at FPL underscore Black Wolf. Let's give a big howl to our boy Dan. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing good, thank you. I'm glad the Premier League's back after that terrible international break. I don't watch the international games anymore. I'm just so tired of them.
The fact that we have one coming up in 3 weeks as well is just
Yeah.
like that. It's so painful. It's so
Fuck
painful
that,
this
dude.
early part of the season. It's just like I'm trying to grind out some green arrows, rise in the ranks, and you're just kind of stuck in the mud for multiple weeks with this international break. And these games they're pointless, and we're seeing some injuries rack up. You hate to see it, especially for mainstays in our FPL teams like Saka. So I think we should just jump in there right now. An international break roundup of sorts. Saka gets injured in England's first match, leaves on the 50th minute or so. Hopefully it's just a bad knock and not a hammy. What have you read
Yeah.
there on the Twitterverse?
I mean, if you saw the video of when he was getting subbed off, he was like holding the back of his thigh. So it did look like it could have
Yeah.
potentially be a hammy injury. But then they showed a video of him after the game walking down the tunnel and he had a slight limp, but he was fine. He seemed in good spirits. And then Lee Carsley, the England manager, said afterwards that he expects him to be okay. It's not a bad injury. But we're not going to hear anything from Arteta, are we? Arteta's going to say, we'll see if he trains on Friday. We'll have to assess him last minute.
Typical.
So I don't know. I think he'll be okay, but not for sure. If there's any game to rest him in, I think it's this one. They don't really need him, I don't think, to win this game.
Yeah, away at Bournemouth. Bournemouth have been plucky this season, a respectable unit, but you would expect the rest of the squad to come together and grind out a 1 or 2-0 results, potentially even without him. So without Odegaard too, I think that's another note. I think I saw Odegaard had a setback in his recovery process, so he might be out until December now. So just terrible injuries for a couple of these mainstay midfielders when you're looking at the likes of Arsenal, and obviously with Rodri out for the season, could really shake up the standings when we're looking at the top of the table.
Yeah, and it's tough with Saka because Saka, after this game week, he has a tough few fixtures. He has Liverpool at home, then Newcastle away, and then Chelsea away. So especially if you're wildcarding this week, I just don't see a reason to have Saka. And even if you're not wildcarding and you have a whole bunch of free transfers saved up, I don't mind moving him on to someone like Cole Palmer in the long term, or someone like Fod-in to try and get those hauls in the next 2 or 3 game weeks.
Yeah, we have a few hashtag FPL community questions later to dive into, asking about what to do with the likes of Saka and Palmer. So we'll dive into those a little bit later. Also wanted to call out that it looks like Salah got sent home early, which is positive. He's not going to bust his shit on these fake fields out in Mauritius. Crazy turf field. So I guess the mandate was anybody who didn't want to play from the first team could bow out of that match.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that across the board now. I don't know if you saw even Kylian Mbappe, who was saying, like, I'm not interested in playing Luxembourg anymore. I only want to
Yeah.
play the big games for France. It's kind of crazy the players have that kind of power these days. But it makes sense because everyone's getting injured left, right, and center playing these stupid games.
Yeah, and what are they? They're playing those matches so the fans can watch, and you're not
Yeah,
watching, Dan. So Mbappe doesn't need to play for you, apparently.
exactly. Salah will be fine though.
Yeah, obviously boosts his potential for a start, obviously coming back. He's not traveling as far, but his counterparts like Luis Diaz, he plays on the 16th and then has a long journey back from wherever they're playing, Colombia area. I mean, I'm concerned as a Diaz owner. We'll jump into that again also later in the pod on what to do with him, but he has been a terrible pick for me on wildcard. I was really, when I looked back at my 3 saved tinkers that I had in FPL team, one of them had Bowen, and I just never no, didn't stick with it. After I dropped Salah, I'm like, oh, I just want to have some Liverpool coverage. Everybody's going to be getting their points, and I would have been much better off if I would have just gone with Bowen, the 90-minute man for a West Ham team that's been disappointing, but he ticks along. So
You
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 live
were
and you
points
learn.
chasing. You were points chasing. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, it was actually not points chasing, it was more of just like a shield, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I feel
No,
like
you're
so
right.
many people from game week 4 wild card were tripled up on Liverpool, and it really felt kind of scary just go down to 1 on game week 6 wild card. So it was more of a shield pick, and hopefully I wasn't expecting him to continue his pace that he was at, but lots of big Champions League matches coming up for the likes of Liverpool as well. And I think that's something where many managers this week will be like, maybe it's time to downgrade Trent and upgrade one of my midfielders to grab somebody like Cole Palmer, etc. So I think those are some popular moves that we're seeing across the community based on those fixtures. Liverpool plays Chelsea at home, Arsenal away, Brighton at home, and then Villa at home. So, tougher fixtures for clean sheets, especially. Attacking fixtures, I think they'll still probably score 2 goals in every match other than Arsenal. But defensively, it's going to be tough. And we still have Allison out for at least 4 weeks, right?
Yes. This is not what I want to hear when I have Robertson and Alexander Arnold in my team, and I'm
And you
probably
didn't
starting them both.
get the clean sheet from Robbo either
Oh
last week. Yeah,
God.
let's we're just jumping around this pod without Bucks to lay down the law. So how did you do last week? I think you got a green arrow though, right?
I did, but only a really small one. I got 55 points last week. So I'm at like 2.4 million right now. I'm having a pretty shitty season because
Yeah,
I'm
double
just,
nickel, classic speed
yeah,
limit 55. Not
I
not,
know.
not too bad.
I feel like I'm just dealing with injuries every week. Even this week, I still haven't been able to roll a transfer, and now Saka might be injured. I might have to use the transfer on Saka,
It's
and
wild.
I've still got like Minter and João Pedro in my team, so I'm so
Did you get the Minte points though? You didn't, right?
no. He was
You
on my
got first
bench,
bench, first
of
bench
course.
slot.
Finally, the week where I don't have to play him, he gets a goal. It's so annoying.
Yeah, that's I would say you are on a very unlucky streak of misfortune.
Yes, yes. Let's say that.
Trust me, I know what that feels like after my diabolical season last year, and it was hard to come on the podcast every week and be jeered and poked and prodded by you and Bucks, and it ebbs and flows. So, like you said earlier, though, a couple episodes ago, we got 30 plus game weeks ahead of us, right? So lots of room to make up. It's just going to be, I think, and it's one of those things for FPL. It's harder than ever to get big chunk green arrows when a lot of the engaged 5 million people playing the game like have solid teams. They don't have big holes like they once might have had when there was less content, etc. But I still have
Exactly.
faith in you, Black Wolf.
I'm still confident, and I actually find it a lot less stressful being down in these ranks. Like, I don't care as much anymore, so you know, I kind of dig it.
Yeah, you play with the freedom, but your injuries, that part of it sucks because you feel like you're forced each week to use that free transfer. Whereas like right now, I'm sitting on 4 free transfers. I wouldn't
Oh,
actually mind if
dude.
Saka is injured because I'm like, oh, I got transfers to deal with them. Wouldn't be the worst to potentially get a little bit of edge on the field and catch up for people who have to hold on to him. So
Exactly.
that's where we're at right now. Cool, man. We're gonna take a first break. We're gonna come back and preview some of the matches to note, and especially start looking at our watch list for the next 4+ game weeks of players at each position. We'll be right back.
And we are back. Now, let's talk about the matches to note for next week, Brian. I think let's start with the obvious one, Man City playing Wolves at Molineux. Wolves gave up 5 goals against Brentford,
Oof,
unfortunately. So
oof. The
I
pain,
think,
the agony, the anguish in your face right now.
yeah. I'm
It's
so
fun to
angry,
it's
I don't
fun.
even want Wolves corner this week.
Yeah, we missed you on the pod the last couple of weeks to tell us what the fuck was going on with your pups, but obviously, from attacking perspective, good to score 3 goals. Fun. Cunha puts in a good FPL result. Eight Nori, some of the players that we're going to be eyeing up for this big fixture turn, but good lord. You
Yeah.
give up the goal in the first 90 seconds, and then from there, it was just chaos. What a bizarre match. Have you had one of those 8 goal matches with Wolves in the last couple seasons? Like I can't remember one where maybe a 4-0 loss here and there to the super teams, but not
Yeah.
like a 8 goal thriller. It was bizarre.
No, I can't remember. I mean, Wolves are notoriously known as being quite a boring team with 1-0 wins here and there, especially when they had Nuno Espirito Santo as their manager. But under Gary
Yeah.
O'Neill, like we play exciting games. Like you just don't know what you're gonna get. Um, so this week I'm kind of scared coming up against Man City. But,
You should be. You should
but
be. The fear of God should be stricken through your bones and your veins.
as I always say, that it would be typical Wolves to come away from this game either snatching a draw or just getting like a narrow loss to Man City, just like they did against Arsenal and against Liverpool. It's against these slightly weaker teams where we just go all out attack, where we can't defend. So, however, if you have Haaland, I would captain him. If you don't have Haaland, I'd be probably terrified this game week.
Yeah, I feel like this is the time when you're looking at City, Wolves away, Southampton at home, Bournemouth away. These are 3 big time money fixtures for City. I'm definitely thinking about captaining Holland in each of the next 3 matches, and especially the Southampton at home match. That might be triple captain material, especially if KDB is back. That would definitely sway me to
Yeah,
possibly use the triple captainship then.
I'm just. I don't know whether to be a bit stubborn about it though, because I think an obvious choice for triple captain was when Bucks played it when they were at home to Ipswich, and I was like, no, it makes much more sense to
Yep.
save it for a double game week. So I feel like I'm kind of going back on myself if I triple captain him that week. But it is a peachy fixture for sure.
Yeah, I think you're looking anywhere from 8 to 17 points versus Southampton. Like that's what you're kind of expecting in that match. So if Fod-in is looking more spry and KDB is back, that will definitely be something that's weighing on my mind. So, like you said, it's going to be tough this week versus Wolves not to have him. I would probably be looking at using transfers if you have a couple to bring him in for this game week and just suck it up and have him for these few next fixtures and then get rid of him later on. But he should, especially after coming off of back-to-back blanks. We know how hungry of a player he is and how just he is going to be so locked in. I just don't see him scoring less than 3 goals in these 2 matches combined.
Yeah, if you don't own him for Wolves away, Southampton at home, Bournemouth away, and he does anything, that's your rank. It's gonna just tank for sure. You have to have him, I feel.
Especially if somebody like Saka is injured and
Yeah,
we see that Palmer and Son is still flagged. Palmer has a tough fixture versus Liverpool. So your other players in your squad that you've been relying on using that budget for without Holland, they could
yeah,
all pretty easily blank or not even feature. And then you're really in a tough spot because
yes,
that's the way that people have gone without Holland have been managing, right? They're just able to get 6 to 20 points in the case of Palmer and offset the value that people have tied up in Holland. So what's your prediction ultimately here for this one?
um, three
Yeah.
one,
Oh,
3-1.
and we would be shocked if there were 3 goals scored again by City and no involvement for Holland. So I
Yeah,
think 3-1. Their defense. I mean, you're going to be starting Rico Lewis, right? And I'm starting Gavardiol.
yeah. I mean, I kind of have to with my team, but I wouldn't be surprised if Wolves score for sure against this team.
Yeah, I feel like. I mean, especially the blueprint from the Fulham match, which we talked about at nauseum before with Bucks on the last game, week 7 recap. They were exploiting all the space behind the inverting Rico. And I mean, obviously, it takes somebody like Adama, who you're very well familiar with, but
Yeah,
I
and
cannot believe he
Jimenez.
did not. Yeah, I cannot believe that he did not score in that match. That was crazy. I mean, they had a way higher XG than City in that one, and Adama just kept fucking it up.
I mean, I've been saying this for years. If Adama could finish, he'd be one of the top players in the world for sure. Because he's just got that. You saw him. He made Kyle Walker look slow.
Oh, roasted him, roasted
Completely
him.
roasted him.
Yeah,
He just can't finish.
it's just. I mean, It is what it is. That's what separates some of the elite wingers with wingers that are just hopping from team to team, right? Okay, next up, Arsenal at Bournemouth. Will Saka play? What does your gut say?
I think he'll play. I mean, luckily we have someone on Twitter, FPL Tommy Gun, who is a huge Arsenal fan. He also lives in Bournemouth. And last season, when Saka was a little bit injured and we didn't know if he was going to play or not, Tommy actually staked out at the ground and saw a
Oh,
video of Saka.
this is brilliant. I did not
So
know this. I follow Tommy Gunn on X, but this is the info I needed.
you do. Last season, he waited outside the ground and he caught a video of Saka getting off the coach and heading into the stadium. So he told everyone it happened, and Saka
Bloody
actually ended up playing. So now, I'm going to be following him for sure this weekend. But I think he'll play.
When does he not play though? Like, especially if it's not a hamstring at all, if it was just a knock, precautionary to go home after the England camp, and I feel like he's gonna play 65 minutes, and it's such a good fixture still for Arsenal.
I feel like unless Arteta completely rules him out or says that he has a hamstring problem, I'm just going to start him and just expect he'll play. Worst case scenario, he'll be benched or miss out entirely. It is what it is.
All right. Well, the other assets across the Arsenal team looking strong. I think Kai Havertz is just in scintillating form. So if you have him, this is another great fixture to roll him out. And then after this week, then you could potentially maybe drop him for Solanke, given the fixture turn for Tottenham. But
Havertz also missed international duty due to a knee injury that he's apparently been nursing. But
yeah, a quote unquote knee injury.
Exactly. He's fine. He just didn't want to go and play international football when he's nursing a slight knock. He'll start and play for sure.
That one hurt to have had him for the first 5 game weeks and then move him out for a double Arsenal defense on wildcard. I would have been much better off if I would have just kept him, and he continues to deliver for Arsenal. And no Odegaard, no problem. Kai just keeps on ticking along, and he's a very much an underpriced asset right now, you would say, compared to the other strikers that are out there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, taking a look at our notes, what are we thinking about this Liverpool match? Chelsea at Liverpool. Do you think Chelsea can rise to the occasion? It's a top 4 clash right now, and Chelsea have been in form. They obviously, fucking sells last week. A couple of those saves on Palmer. Obviously,
I know.
As a Chelsea supporter, I was shocked because generally Chelsea are able to manufacture goals. We'll give up a few, but so that double save on him was huge, and I got away with it to not own Palmer last week. So I'm curious, how you're feeling about this one. And the defense from Liverpool have let up the fewest goals in the Premier League this season so far, right?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised to hear that. It doesn't feel like it when I own their double defense, and I don't feel like I'm getting a lot of points from them. But Chelsea are just a different team this season. They're by far the best team in terms of XG. So, everyone's saying this is a really difficult fixture for Palmer. This is a really hard fixture for Chelsea. You don't need to bring Palmer in. You should look about selling Jackson. I don't know if I agree with that. I think this is the game where Chelsea can prove if they really are a top 4 team or not. And I wouldn't be surprised if they came away from here having scored a few goals. I hate to say it again, owning double defense, but I just really wouldn't be surprised. I have no issues people bringing in Palmer this week, like other people seem to.
Yeah, especially if we were to get news that Saka is going to miss the match, and not a serious injury, but he's going to be rested. He just needs to be up to speed, especially with Champions League games coming as well, and a tougher fixture for Arsenal versus Liverpool in game week 9. I would definitely be moving to Palmer and making that swap. Just the amount of actions every game that he takes that could lead to FPL points, it's interesting. It's almost more terrifying than not owning Haaland, because Palmer's just so involved. There are games where we're still seeing Haaland, if he doesn't get the service, especially when KDB doesn't play, you're not as stressed. But Palmer being on set pieces and free kicks and open play and just slotting small passes to Medwicki, running down the right flank and getting a lot of shots on target. It's rough watching watching Chelsea play without owning him.
It just feels like Palmer has the potential to come away with 20 plus points every game week. Whereas Haaland, a goal here and there, maybe he'll get a hat trick and get 17. But as we saw, Palmer has the potential to get 25. So it's like
Yeah, fucking bonkers, man.
scary. And his
Bonkers.
ownership is very high.
Yeah. I think we should also call out that there are a couple players for Chelsea that are suspended in this one. And we're going to see Cucurella miss out, and I believe Fofana as well. So who is going to play left back for Chelsea? I'm kind of curious, like what rotation they roll out with, because you could see a lot of joy for the likes of Salah down the flank, especially if he's rested over the last week or so coming back from IB.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pretend my two defenders are wingers, and then I'll feel a little better about it. No, they have assist potential. I still think Chelsea aren't the strongest defensively, so
Yeah.
I can see both these teams scoring a few goals.
It's really weird because, like you said, like you feel like you haven't gotten a ton of points from your defenders from Liverpool, and that's mainly because I mean, they've cleaned 5 out of 7 games, but you've consistently only gotten 5 or 6 points from Robbo, right?
Yeah,
You were really hoping for an 10, 11, 12 to come into that mix, especially since they were scoring 2 or 3 goals. So you're catching the hauls from Trent, but he's only had 1 assist too. So it's just kind
yeah.
of interesting, and that's why I wouldn't be too fussed to move off of Trent this week if you need the funds. I mean, I think even a downgrade just going Trent to Kanate, who is showing that he's great value, is not the worst idea that frees up 2 million. I'm just waiting for that explosion from Trent, and obviously had a couple goals ruled off, and I think that's really, you know, changing his outlook in terms of being a monster point potential guy. But I'm not like too scared of Trent over the next like 5 matches.
No, I don't see a problem moving off him to be able to afford a better midfield. But there is a haul coming at some point.
Yeah,
I don't want to
hard
say
to
that every
pinpoint.
week and then we're waiting like 10 weeks for a haul.
Yeah, he did bag the free kick versus Finland as well.
Yes,
And I
beautiful
think
free
that
kick.
Jack the lad, he owes him 500 quid because he was talking shit to him. Said, "I'll pay you 500 bucks if you nail this free kick." And lo and behold, Trent's magical boot puts in the back of the net. Cool. Next up, what are we thinking between Brighton and Newcastle? This is another match that there could be a lot of goals in, but I'm not sure what assets people actually have from those two teams. Welbeck, Minte. What are you doing with Minte? You're going to start him this week?
See, I don't know. I'll end up starting him, then he'll be benched, or I'll keep him on my bench and he'll play. I just don't know what to do with this guy. I'll probably end up benching him, but he used to play for Newcastle, right?
Yeah.
So, and Newcastle have been quite weak defensively, so he could come away with a goal here. I just don't trust this guy. I can't wait to get him off my team. He just causes me so much headaches. But I see another game here with a lot of goals in it.
Yeah, I would expect this one to be like a 2-1 or a 2-2, like a draw potentially. We've seen that this Brighton team can give up goals very easily, but they can also come back. So I'm very, very curious to see how it continues. And Welbeck has been the player that apparently we all should have gone with instead of frickin' Jao Ladro. That one hurts right in the nuts as well, because you, myself, and Bucks all went for JP before he fucked up his shit.
I can't remember if it was you or it was Bucks who was very, very close to putting in Welbeck and then changed your mind last minute. Was it you or
Yeah,
Bucks?
that was me, because that was all the way up until the night before.
Uh,
Yeah, rough, rough.
you need to not check FPL on the evenings before. You always change your mind.
Yeah, and I'm usually just sending out the SOS to the chat on what the fuck should I do. And
The
it's funny. It's
crickets.
like I'm the nighttime sleep deprivation and loss of haggling in your mind over a 5.5 million pound forward in FPL is not where I want to be with my life, but it happens far too often. And like you said, like Minte, Bucks went for him before too, has just been a a tough pick because you don't know which matches he's going to start, and that frankly is just for all of the Brighton assets. So when
Yeah.
everyone's fully healthy, I think there's even rotation between João Pedro and Welbeck, and Ferguson at some point is going to claim some minutes. Like I don't know if they're, I guess the kid's only like 19 or 20, but eventually he's going to want a bigger move, and they got to play him so they can get 50 plus million for him. So
You think
be
so? Yeah.
interesting soon. Interesting how that plays out there.
Yep.
All right, let's transition now. There's some other good matches, but I think we're gonna take a look at our press play watch list coming up here over the next 4 matches. Taking a look at the fixture ticker and then players who have caught our eye. That's what this pod's all about. Definitely a pro eye test. We watch as many matches as we can, catch the highlights, and root for our FPL picks. So I think right now there's still some managers who have wild card left. So I know one of my good buddies, Corey, is on wild card. I was hanging out with him in LA, and he caught a big Saka captaincy
Oof.
with me as well. 7 in the morning, we were going nuts. It was a good time. It was a good time with some drinks. So I'm kind of curious, kind of starting back to front. What is your outlook on goalies right now? You have Raya in the back?
I have right. Yeah. Goalies were a difficult one. I feel like they're all kind of shit this season, aren't they? So I know there's the odd haul here and there for like Pickford and Sanchez, but in general, a lot of these 4.5 goalkeepers especially have just been kind of shit. So I still think David Raya is my favourite, just away into that Arsenal defence. Someone that's going to play every game if they're fit. And then you try and use the outfield defensive spots for more attacking defenders on other teams to go alongside Gabriel. So I still think Raya is a clear favourite for me. I don't think 5.5 is too expensive.
I mean, the fact that double Arsenal defense got broken on these mass wildcard teams where they play Southampton and Leicester and get a total of 3 points. Like no save points, no bonus, no clean sheets. Ugh, utter disaster.
It really is. I thought that was a very, very safe 2 clean sheets when I brought Raya in. And of course, they concede 2 shitty goals. Just
Yeah, like I
typical.
said before, I moved off double Arsenal attack to double Arsenal defense, and that one cost me a lot of points, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's okay. But yeah, other than David Raya, I mean, I guess you could go for Flecken because Brentford's fixtures are looking good soon, but he's crap. Like, he is those, isn't he? He makes so many mistakes. They concede goals quite often. Brentford. I mean, we've seen the defensive assets at Brentford getting goals and getting assists, and that's where the points are coming from. But they're not really getting clean sheets. So again, David Raya is my clear favorite in this spot.
Yeah, long term as well. If you're looking to make a goalkeeper transfer, I think it's still super safe. They're going to keep a bunch of cleans, probably
Yeah.
18 clean sheets this season. So it's worth the money. But we are seeing players like Pickford pick up some of those big hauls. Obviously, not a great pen by Anthony Gordon and his blonde hair before, but 15 points, absolutely flying. I know when we had Alon from FML FPL on, he went with him on wild card, and that
Yeah.
15 pointer. Oh my, that's what you dream of, a 15-point goalie return. I mean, and the ownership, I'm sure, for Pickford is probably under 15%. That is a huge, huge rank rise.
I mean, Everton do have good fixtures though, so I guess I don't mind Pickford, but Ipswich away, I don't think that's a guaranteed clean sheet. Fulham at home, Fulham are actually a very, very good side this season. I don't think they're a green fixture, which is what the FPL website has them as. Southampton away, again, it's another away fixture against a team fighting for their lives. And then you have West Ham away. I think West Ham are better than FPL say they are as well. So people look at those fixtures and think, oh, that's 3-4 clean sheets. I'm not so sure.
Yeah, ultimately, I would still not be making a goalkeeper transfer. I would
No.
just ride out with whoever you have and save your free transfers up for the lads that are going to be those big hitters that you need for captaincy. And right now, owning 2 or 3 of combination of Holland, Saka, Palmer, Salah, that's really the most important thing. So definitely noteworthy there. Defenders. All right. Give us the heads up here on Wolves and their fixture turn, because Ryan Aït-Nouri is somebody that I'm looking at for potentially even moving Trent to Ran to free up money to get Palmer and go with that kind of threemium look. So what's the outlook here? Will your team ever keep another fucking clean sheet again, or is it just
Don't
trick
know.
or treat dirty sheets?
It was kind of nice because before the last game week, I did a thread on X about my favorite Wolves assets, and I picked Cunha, Aït-Nouri, and Strand Larsen, and they all got 9 points. And I think it was 8 points for Strand Larsen or something like that in the last game against Brentford. So that felt justified. But yeah, I don't see us keeping clean sheets. I really don't against anyone. We just look terrible defensively. So if you do go for Aït-Nouri, you're going for him for the attacking returns. A lot of people are concerned whether he's nailed or not. He has no competition at that left back spot at the minute. I don't see him not starting every game if he's fit, unless Gary O'Neill tries to make some kind of crazy adjustment to the system because we're just constantly losing. But even then, I would probably see Aït-Nouri moving into a more forward role if he does that. So, especially for 4.4 million, I really like Aït-Nouri as a pick. I wouldn't play him against Man City. I see a lot of people starting him this week. I don't know if I'd go that far.
Yeah, I think he's just a darling pick, especially if you're gonna try and chase a couple attacking returns. And so far, just the clean sheets outside of Arsenal have been very unpredictable. I guess between Arsenal and somehow Manchester United are keeping a lot of clean sheets too. But I would definitely be looking at Aït-Nouri, especially if you can you can play him in every match coming up, but if you want to rotate him with another 4 or 5, there's a big fixture horizon that could be quite good. So be nice to talk about owning a Wolves player coming
I
up
know
here.
I've been waiting for this game week since game week 1. All of a sudden, I'm becoming quite popular again.
Oh, love to see that. Look at that big glowing smile you have on your face, Mr. Popularity over here, Mr. California. All right, Konate is somebody that I wanted to shout out as well. Like, I think that that's his spot. He's healthy now, and we're seeing him put in. He's a threat on those set pieces. A lot of times those set pieces are coming in from Trent, but if he could put his head on the back of a few defenders and jump over them and get a header, again, he's got 1 goal, 1 assist so far, 5.2, 5.3 million. It's just another way to free up funds and still keep a part of that defense. But I guess this is a trap that I fell into earlier. Do you feel like this is a shield pick, or is it worth the investment to still have somebody from to move possibly Trent to Konate to free up that 2 mil?
Yeah, I don't think I like it as much as you do. I think the only reason I would own Liverpool right now is for the chance of a clean sheet, but mainly for their attacking returns. I know Konate has got some attacking returns lately, but it's been kind of rare and fluky, I feel. I would either go with someone like Trent, or I would avoid Liverpool defence entirely and use the funds to upgrade my midfield. I don't think I would go to Konate.
Yeah, or using those funds up front as well, right? Like people who maybe have a 5.5 striker, they want to get to Solanke. I think that's really popular as well. So that 2 million, 2 to 3 million goes a long way for a lot of different teams. So other players to call out, I've still been impressed with Forest and Nuno from coaching Wolves.
Yeah.
They're defensively, they look very solid. They caused a lot of problems with Chelsea with that draw, which was definitely a bummer to have our 4-game win streak just shut down by fucking Forest, usually in the relegation zone, but they're getting it done. So curious your thoughts on their assets, because they're all around 4.5 million as well.
I like them for the rotation. If I was on a wild card, I think I would probably have one. I mean, they're playing Crystal Palace at home, Leicester away, West Ham at home, Newcastle at home. I think they're decent fixtures for a defensive Nottingham Forest team. And I don't mind, again, if you pick someone who rotates well, so you skip the more difficult games.
Right.
Yeah, I like it. I don't know which one I would pick. I'm not as well informed on Nottingham Forest defenders as fans are, but I think Aina is the one that is most popular
Yeah,
right now.
Aina.
Aina,
Because
sorry.
Aina's also played like left and right back, and
Yeah.
so his versatility makes him a pretty good option. But Milenkovic is a fucking tower of a human being, and he's
Yes,
a big threat on set pieces as well. So somebody else to possibly keep in mind.
definitely. Other than that, the other defender I like is Pedro Porro. I mean, again, there we've seen that Tottenham can't keep clean sheets. It's a recurring theme with them, I feel. But Porro looks like he's going to get some attacking returns coming up soon. I just feel it. So I don't mind downgrading Trent to someone like him to catch the upcoming fixtures. Um, but again, he's 5.5 rather than 4.5. So part of me just prefers going with 4.5 defenders and then just having a really stacked forward line of midfielders because that seems to be where the points are coming from so far.
Yeah, the Oro experience been mixed bag. He's scored a goal, got a clean sheet early, and then he's blanked his life away since then. But it seems like Tottenham's defense has like been improving to some kind of degree, but I'm not sure. Like we said, they're up 2-0. They're kicking the shit out of Brighton for 55 minutes, and then they just collapse so badly. And I don't know if that's obviously tactical. They need to play a little bit more of a possession-based game when they do have a lead. But I have no faith in them keeping clean sheets,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And like I rate the players that they have. Like they're not world class, but they're all pretty solid. But they just, similar to City, honestly, from a defensive point. Like I don't see them going into any match right now and keeping it clean.
No, I don't. And I know we're saying that the defense has improved, and statistically, yes, they have. But they have played 7 games and only kept 2 clean sheets. One of them
Yeah.
against Everton, when Everton were looking really bad at the start of the season. The second one against Man United, who I'd probably be confident Wolves keeping a clean sheet at this point against
Yeah,
them. So,
for sure.
yeah, I don't know.
I was watching FPL Black Box earlier today and was just looking also at some of the defensive stats around Aston Villa. And I don't believe in their defense at all, really, either. But they have kept a couple impressive clean sheets against Bayern in midweek for their Champions League home match. And then they basically did jack squat versus Manchester United. That was a unfortunate game for me to be watching with our buddy Ryan, who did the artwork for this podcast and for FPL USA. He made the trek, and there was not a lot of XG racked up in that game from either side. I think it was like half an XG for each team. It was pretty
Oof.
pathetic, but still a really cool experience at Cosm in LA. But I'm kind of curious. Kanza is going to be out. He's got a hamstring injury. So what do you think? Diego Carlos comes in. Do you think they still can keep cleans, or you just would stay away completely given they have UCL as well?
Yeah, I'm not interested in Aston Villa defense.
Me neither.
No, no
I
one in
can't.
that team.
It doesn't excite me. I think
No.
Pau Torres is somebody who's in Bucks's team, and I think he's fine. He hasn't hauled yet for FPL. I'm pretty sure he benched him this week as well. He didn't play him versus Manchester United to get that clean sheet.
No, he
So
didn't.
yeah,
I mean,
difficult.
the only attacking defender they have who's been playing is Luca Dean, and I just can't have him in my team. So
Oh, the
outside of him,
fucking
there's no one.
French troll himself. You can't
Yeah,
bring Dean in. Yeah.
exactly. So there's no one on them that excites me. I think they're just boring picks.
Once we see Dean go down with injury, Matson is somebody I really rated. I had him like all of last season for Champions League fantasy, and he was a player for Dortmund that was getting lots of attacking returns plus
Yeah.
clean sheets and is just a very active player. So it would be interesting to see him in the mix. But all right, let's take a move here and go to the midfield. Who are you planning on getting over the next 4 game weeks? Who's on your watch list? What are you hopefully going to have 2 free transfers?
It really depends on Saka because I'm really trying to save my transfers here. I think the priority has to be getting Palmer in by game week 12 without having to take crazy hits or miss out on points in the meantime. I think long term, he's definitely the priority. Other than him, if you want to try and chase some hauls in the next 2 or 3 game weeks, if you're someone like yourself who has a lot of transfers saved up, I do like Fod-in with the fixtures they have coming up. You have to feel like he's going to come good at some point soon. Um, and outside of him, if you want like an outside shout at someone, if Son is fit and he looks like he's going to play, I really like their fixtures for attacking. And if you're a crazy madman who likes pain, then Bruno Fernandes has really nice fixtures. I feel like he's going to come good at some point, and it might be in the next few weeks.
All right, let's talk about a few of these guys. So Fod-in has played under 150 minutes
Yeah,
this season, but obviously absolutely crushed last year. Premier player of the year, right? Like breakout season for him. Plays 3,000 plus minutes for the first time in his career. I think he's somebody that you're taking a risk on to go early, but he does have brace potential in any game that he plays. So if he can find a little bit of form, he's a player that's a true differential. I haven't seen what his current ownership is, but I would have to assume it's like under 15%, right? So that is definitely a player that it's a high risk for 9.2 million. I think that's the thing. He's got 5 total fucking points right now.
his
But he's
ownership
only
is only 5%.
yeah, that's you're gaining tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of places if he's scoring 10 plus points.
I mean, I'm making this up completely because I don't know how Pep's brain work, but you would think that someone like Foden, who you want to integrate back into the team to get his confidence back up, you think playing him at home to Southampton would be a great chance for him to do that. So having Foden at home to Southampton in game week 9 feels like a massive haul opportunity that I would love to be on. I just don't know if I can go there because of my transfers, but someone like I'd be tempted because you love Foden, don't you?
Yeah, I stayed away from him on wild card. I wanted him last week, and I've just been rolling transfers and being patient, trying to give him at least one full game. I mean, he played 70 some minutes in his last match. I think he's probably gearing up to play 80 plus. So I'm definitely keen on him at 5% ownership, but it's also like, can I take a punt on another player who maybe is not 9.3 million, 9.2 million and have low ownership elsewhere? So let's transition to your Son shout, because I think we just need to talk about all the attacking assets from the likes of Tottenham. So if Son plays, it's really just boosts the whole team because Timo Werner, bless his soul, he's a Dama Traore from Germany, essentially. Like he makes some great runs. He's got the pace, but his final ball and just not being able to keep his head up it's rough to watch. So if Son was in that side, I think there's a very high likelihood that a few more goals go in for Tottenham coming up here, especially with this run. So Son, definitely an interesting shout. And then
Yeah,
Brennan Johnson, who's the cheapest of them, and Matto, who's 7.5 or so. So let's break down those three. Are you thinking, especially with one free transfer, easy to get somebody like Brennan Johnson in your side?
yeah. I don't know. Something about Brennan Johnson, I just,
But
I don't like.
you don't like his Putnam. You don't like that he's Welsh. What don't you like about him?
Maybe I don't know. Sometimes there's just a player who just for some reason you don't like bringing him into your team. I had the same thing about Miggy Almiron a couple of seasons ago. If you remember our meetup, he was getting haul after haul after haul after haul, and I
Yeah.
just refused to bring him in. It's kind of the same with Brennan Johnson. I just much prefer having someone like Son in my team, just because I like him better as a player. I think he has much higher haul potential. I know he's a lot more money, but like you said, if Son was playing instead of Timo Werner, I really feel like Son would have had a lot of points over the past few game weeks. Um, the issue, of course, is his fitness. I don't know if he's fit or not, but if he is fit, he's also gonna play.
Yep, that's a good shout. And I'd be very surprised if Son is not on pens. So there's definitely a few people that will go there when healthy. I don't think he's as explosive. He's lost a step. But even if he takes even a little bit more of a facilitator role and only shoots a couple times a game, he can still definitely put in a number of performances that net double-digit points from the Korean international there. So I do like that. Other cheap guys, just a quick shout out. I think if you're on wild card, Rogers is still going to be a player he's going to be wearing down a little bit, especially since this is the first time he's played basically 90 minutes in a huge successive run of fixtures. But He's good. Dibbling, he's 4.5, 4.6 at Southampton. He's an enabler. You don't have to play him much. McNeil, still looking solid. And then I can't believe I'm saying it, but Traore at 5.1, 5.2. He's somebody that if you could rotate, he might come good on a few and just luck his way into a few attacking returns. So those would be the other players to potentially target. All right, lastly, want to move up to the forwards. Right now, what forward line do you have?
I have Solanke, João Pedro, and Haaland, and I'm probably just going to stick to that trio.
Solanke.
I'm probably going to stick to those three for the long term. Um, unless I hear João Pedro's injury is a lot worse than we feel, and he's not going to be back for another 5, 6, 7 game weeks, then I'm probably just going to leave him rotting on my bench until he's back fit. I think the midfield is the area I can target to change my team for Hawes.
Yeah, right on.
But if you're wildcarding this week, I think my favorite front line is Haaland, Solanke, and Cunha.
Oh, Cunha. So tell us more about your Wolves boy. He's been putting in some good shifts. Just came off of an 8 or 9 pointer.
Yeah, and he's completely nailed in our team. He's by far our best player. He's on penalties most likely, especially if Hwang and
Think so?
Yeah, if Sarabia and Hwang are not playing, which they're not right now, then I think Cunha is the next in line. And even if they are playing, I think Cunha might have made his way towards the top of that list now. He's also on a lot of free kicks and he's also on a lot of corners. So I really like Cunha at 6.5 with the fixtures we have. I know Wolves have been terrible, but we've still looked decent attacking wise.
In attack, yeah.
So I don't see many better options at that price point. I know there's Dominic Calvert-Lewin and there's Chris Wood. I think
both of my strikers right now.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's my Wolves bias coming in, but I just really like the Cunha pick instead of those two for the next few weeks.
Yeah, I think he's 6.5, so he's more expensive than both of those players. But on a wild card, I think he's definitely interesting. And I'm gonna probably at some point move for either Solanke and find some funds, or just move up either probably DCL if he continues to blank. He's got these money fixtures coming up though in the next couple matches. Everton are top of the fixture ticker from Fantasy Football Scout over the next 4, playing Ipswich away, Fulham at home, Southampton away, West Ham away. So some away matches, but there should be lots of opportunities for him to possibly get on track. But if he keeps fucking up, and I mean, he could have had a penalty in the last game, had a big chance blocked. It's just a typical DCL experience right now, but
yeah,
I do like Cunha there as well.
I mean, Calvert-Lewin is 3 points behind Cunha so far this season. Calvert-Lewin has played the likes of Crystal Palace at home, Leicester away, Bournemouth at home, even Brighton at home when their defense hasn't been great, Newcastle at home when their defense hasn't been great, and he has less points than Cunha.
Dude, why do the schedule makers fucking hate your Wolverhampton team? I'm looking at this again. Like, obviously, we just in the preseason just wrote Wolves assets off because they're like, oh, their fixtures are terrible. But like now that I'm like looking back on them, oh my god, Arsenal, Chelsea, NFO, Newcastle, Villa, Liverpool, Brentford. Oh,
so Arsenal away. Arsenal are one of the best teams in the league. Chelsea at home. People are saying, oh, that's a decent fixture. But now we've seen that Chelsea is not a decent fixture. That's impossible. Nottingham Forest have been so much better this season, especially at their home ground. So coming away from them,
that was only a point that you got this whole season. So
yeah, but coming away with a point from that match is actually a decent result. It just looks bad compared to the rest of them. Then,
fucking hell.
Newcastle we almost beat. We just screwed up with 2 last-minute goals. Aston Villa, the same thing. We were winning most of that game, and then we made some bad substitutions. Liverpool, we only lost because of a penalty. And then Brentford away, we were just terrible. But yeah,
weird season for them. But
now
maybe they get back on track.
Man City next.
Yeah,
brutal.
Yeah, it'll look even worse next week. All right, let's jump to a break here, and then we're gonna come back and talk about a few #FPL community questions, and then cover our transfer plans and captaincy shouts. We'll be right back. And we're back. Boys and girls, thank you for engaging with us on X, and any other social platform, which we field your hashtag FPL community questions. Let's jump into a few of these lightning style round. And first comes from Barrister FPL, aka Jeremy. He wants to know what to do with Luis Diaz. Do we give him a fighting chance to start coming off of the international travel from Colombia? Or is it time to find some money and bring in Fod-in? Or alternatively, just one transfer, just move him down to Brennan Johnson. So, what are your thoughts on what to do with Diaz, who, again, he's had a really heart-stopping start to the season, but now he's been a tricky asset, and more rotation should come given that all their attackers are healthy at Liverpool.
I think for me, this season more than ever, you have to answer all of these questions knowing how many transfers this person has. Because if they've saved up 4 or 5 transfers, then going off Luis Diaz is completely fine. And I would love to bring in someone like Foden or Brennan Johnson. If you have one free transfer, I don't see the point in doing it. Just roll it and keep him for another week. So I think more than ever, we have to caveat these questions with how many transfers do you have?
Yeah, plus we want to see the presser would be nice too. Like,
Yeah.
we'll just see if there's anything that comes out of that. I think he's still first choice when all
I think
the
so.
parameters are set for him to start. But given that he's coming from travel, they got UCL coming up and all kinds of different things in this Liverpool schedule, it's a little bit tougher to figure out what's going to happen with his start. So
He started every single game apart from the last one. So no,
right,
he's not all of a sudden a bad asset. He hasn't really changed. He got one rest. So if you have him, just keep him unless you have a ton of free transfers to have some fun.
yeah. And who the Dusseldorf are the Colombians even playing tomorrow? Like I don't. Does he need to play a ton of minutes? I doubt
Oh,
it.
he will. He will though.
You think he will though? Yeah,
Yeah.
continues to rack it up.
Yeah. So I don't
Well,
know.
I'm in the same spot. And I mean, I think, especially given that I need to find funds, I would love to get Luis Diaz up to Palmer and keep Saka at some point, but that I think that's gonna be tough. We're not gonna know what to do with Saka. So I would kind of just lean the route of let's see Foden actually put in multiple starting shifts where he plays over 70 minutes and maybe gets a little bit of form. Like, it's a big gamble if you go there, but right now I would rather free up the funds and get Brennan Johnson, who's going to be trickling in the points. You're not going to get huge double-digit hauls, but if he can get assists, 5 to 8 points at his price tag, and given how attacking, I mean, I think they're like top of the table right now in terms of XG from a Spurs perspective through the first like 6 matches. So I think I would go that route.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't mind it.
You don't mind it. That's right. Nothing, no skin off your back there. So
No, I
fuck it.
don't mind.
Don't mind
I'm
it.
I'm sat here with one free transfer and a bunch of issues,
Yeah.
so I don't give a shit what anyone else
Just,
thinks.
yeah. You're just like, yeah, I don't care if you fuck up your transfers. I need to gain some ground. I'll get
Yeah,
one
okay.
free. You're dreaming of 2 free transfers. All right. Next question comes from at Bangla_FPL. Again, which Spurs asset to get? He has Eze in his team, but also has Nico Jackson, so could go a couple different routes. So curious, what your thoughts are. I think one attacker from Spurs is just going to be, you're going to go into those matches. I feel like Spurs have like been playing a lot of like Sunday matches as well for some reason.
Yeah,
I don't know, maybe that's just a random thing that's embedded in my brain, but it would be nice to have a player from Tottenham given this run. So
it would.
maybe
I
rank the assets from their attackers.
I think to answer his question directly, I think I would prefer doing Solanke for Jackson. I think you target those fixtures, and I actually still like Eze. I know a lot of people have sold him, a lot of people are fed up with him, but he has still looked dangerous. He is still racking up the XG, and I feel like he's been quite unlucky. And the fixtures he has coming up aren't that bad.
I mean, you're looking at a relegation-bound team right now. They are in the bottom 3, right? Crystal Palace?
Yeah, but you know what? When you're looking at an asset as good as Eze, I think the team he plays for doesn't really matter. Like, he has the chances. They are going to score some goals, I feel. I mean, Nottingham Forest away is a lot more difficult than it seems, I know, but he could grab a goal for sure, get 10 points. Spurs at home, Wolves away, Fulham at home. There's
Yeah, not
points
bad. Not
potential
bad.
there. So, I wouldn't jump off him unless I have to, or if I have loads of free transfers to play around with. But
Yeah, it
Solanke for
also
Jackson.
helps. It also helps that Eze has been sitting at home doing nothing for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
He hasn't had to travel. He didn't get the call up for the England squad, so he's just chilling. He's ready to unleash some shots and some rips outside the box, and hopefully get back into the good graces of FPL managers.
exactly. I would go Solanke for Jackson. That's what I personally would do. No fence sitting anymore.
Yeah, Bucks would be proud of you, but he's not here, so he'll have to listen back to the episode to figure out if you're still a fence sitter. All right, next question is from my Cayman fan. He wants to know, with Odegaard possibly out longer with a setback, how does that impact your thinking on the Arsenal attackers? And to recap, Arsenal play Bournemouth away, Liverpool at home, Newcastle away, and Chelsea away in the next 4 matches. So pretty tough fixture run coming here, plus Champions League mixed in between there. So what are your thoughts on kind of the impacts of Odegaard and possibly Saka being out?
I think if Saka's out as well, then it is going to impact them if it's long term. But it's not going to be long term. He's going to be fine, as we said earlier. We've seen already that they do miss Odegaard, but they're still scoring goals without him, and their main assets are still getting the points. So I wouldn't worry about Odegaard missing out, to be honest. If anything, I think it gives these assets more chance of getting a return because you don't have a player like Odegaard stealing some of the points. I mean, maybe that's not true, but that's how my brain works.
Yeah, that's a fair shout. I think if you have those guys, just hold them. Like Arsenal are one of the top,
Yeah,
5, 10 teams right now in the world. So you expect, even with their other players, their system, their tenacity, the drive to finally top City. I think all those factor into hopefully continued performance and great run from the Gunners.
exactly. Saka got 16 points last game week without Odegaard. I know it was against Southampton, but I really don't think it affects the best assets that much.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. All right, next up, our guy Corey is on wild card, and he wants to know if he's going to keep Holland. Who is the second premium to put next to him? Palmer has some tough runs, like I just said, and Saka could be out. So where do you go? Do you go with Fod-in, Salah, or do you just go with Palmer from the get-go, knowing that he might possibly be the season keeper?
Yeah, if I was on a wild card, I would go for Palmer from the get go. Just get him in. His price is going to continue to raise. I don't think these fixtures are as tough as they seem. I think you're going to get him in game week 12 anyway. You don't know what kind of injuries are going to come up in the next 2 weeks that might affect your plan to get him in. So just get him in. I definitely 100% sure would have Palmer on my wild card if I was wildcarding this week.
All right, I like it. I'm very curious again what's going to happen with Saka. Waiting for pressers. It would be nice to know that he was definitely out, because then Palmer's just he's a no-brainer. Kelleher is pretty solid in goal. He's not Allison, so there could be some chances for Palmer in that one. And just given the attacking nature of the Chelsea team, they'll give up some goals, but they'll also rack up some high XG no matter what team they play. So I think that's definitely somebody that I really would like to get in. I would like to have the threemium setup and just go cheaper in defense, maybe without Trent, and have Palmer, Saka, and Holland for a stretch. But yeah, lots of tinkering to be done for Corey on wildcard. But I think Palmer is just that player with the highest ceiling. That he shoots sight unseen. He makes the right passes. He's just a perfect player for FPL specifically. So, all right. Any other questions here, Dan?
We have just one final question from Connor, FBL Hunt, who says Haaland is important for the next couple of games, in his opinion, but is he really that important long term? You can
Typical
answer that
Connor.
one.
Typical Connor fucking stirring the pot with his Holland bullshit. Uh, well, I'm gonna be seeing Mr. Connor in San Diego tomorrow for some dinner. I'll probably buy the lad dinner. hopefully he'll give me his FPL luck, and he's having another great start to the season. So curious to see what his thoughts are in real life, off the record. Maybe I'll get a couple beers in him and he'll tell me what he really thinks of Holland. But obviously essential for the next two matches. And then after that, that's TBD. I'm really kind of curious if people are going to go off of Holland from the stretches of maybe game week 12 to game week like 15, 16. Yeah, there's a small stretch. We just need Saka and Palmer and Salah to be all healthy and firing, and then I think it's fine to go without him. But these next 2 weeks, you need to captain him. You're
Yeah,
gonna
I
fall
think
so
so.
far behind, right?
I think so.
I know so because we're gonna transition to our transfer plans and captaincy shouts, and I know that Erling Haaland is gonna get me at least 16 points on captaincy this week. I would, if he
Oof.
has less than 8 points, I would be very surprised, right? So it's a no-brainer captaincy for me. What about you, Dan?
Yeah, I'm gonna captain him.
Yeah,
I feel
easy.
like I have to.
We don't need to dive too far into. If you didn't have him, I would say that Salah is the next best captain at home versus Chelsea. No Cucurella, no Fofana, a little bit, it's just weird things happen after international break. And so I could see Chelsea just not being fully together versus a mature Liverpool squad. So I don't hate that captaincy shout either.
Yeah, I mean, Haaland is by far the standout this week. I think his ownership is going to be so high, almost 200% probably.
Yep.
So just do
Don't
it.
disagree.
Yeah,
I
just
do
do it for
not
your
disagree
mental
with
health sake.
Yeah, that's right. All right, Dan, let's tell the squad that are listening at the end of this pod what you're going to do with your massive one free transfer. Can you roll it? Can you get to two?
Hopefully, unless I hear Saka is 100% out, I'm just gonna roll it and just accept that I have another red arrow this week, playing double Liverpool defense, playing a potentially injured Saka. It's rough out there, Brian.
Yeah, you got those Brighton assets that, I mean, Minte could deliver some points. Have you
I'm
thought
not
about
starting him
starting?
though.
Have you
No, I
thought
don't.
about starting him over Robbo?
I have. I've toyed between the two of them, but it would just be typical of Liverpool to keep a clean sheet or for Robertson to get an assist or something. The
Yeah,
1 week I bench him, I just feel like if I have him, just play him, whatever.
yeah. Like we said before, they've been cleaning their lives away, so they've been delivering 6 points consistently. I just
Yeah.
wonder if this could be like the Minte revenge game versus his old club,
I know.
and just it might be more fun to have them because if Palmer or Nico Jackson pokes through that goal, we're just not seeing a ton of crosses being put in by Robbo. Yeah, something to possibly weigh up.
Well, maybe he starts and he gets 60 minutes at 0-0, then he comes off and then they concede 4 goals. Maybe that happened. I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
just
we'll see.
accepting a red arrow this week, I feel.
Yeah, I was looking at my squad earlier as well. Just so many teams have away matches, which
Yeah.
is bizarre. Arsenal away, City are away, Villa's away, Mbomo is away to Manchester United. Even my picks of Calvert-Lewin are away, so it's
Yeah.
it's it's rough. It's rough out there.
Just play whoever and hope for the best this week. I think you need to aim for the weeks coming up. I think just write this week off, if
Yeah.
I'm honest.
And honestly, like I have an eye on maybe limiting some of my assets in the Liverpool at Arsenal fixture. Like I have a lot of players in that right now. And
Yeah.
so I might move off of Diaz and Trent in game week 9. So I almost rather have that free transfer. So just switching gears to my team, Luis Diaz is my main problem right now. I I don't know. I have 4 free transfers, so I can do whatever the fuck I want. I just don't know if, you know, my first bench slot is Semenyo at home to Arsenal. Don't love that because I'm starting double Arsenal defense. So I'm either going to move Diaz down to Brennan Johnson or I'm going to just roll him out and see what happens. it's tough. It's going to be a Friday night type
Yeah.
of vibe.
I'm gonna
But
I'm gonna mute you. I'm gonna meet you on Friday night.
oh, that's so rude. I mean, if you mute me, then I could end up with 5 free transfers. So that would be an achievement
Oh
unlocked,
shit, yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
and then I could do some massive surgery potentially. But I'm in a good position to roll a lot of transfers coming up here, and I don't have like the Rico Lewis problem. I'm starting Gavardiol, so I'm just not sweating any team sheets there. So I have a few players that are ready for action to jump in whenever. So
What
all right.
what a fucking show off.
I mean, look, I those transfers that I have not made are reflected in my rank. I mean, it's not terrible, but I'm 500K. So would I much rather have one free transfer and be 200K? Like, I think that's like last week I didn't pull the trigger on moving Diaz to Brennan Johnson, and
Yeah.
I was at the boys' end, so I didn't wake up to get any news and take advantage of the leak that Diaz was not going to play. So shit like that stacks up, but I'm in a good spot just to chill and take it easy and not sweat too much about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, Dan, it's been lovely to see your face. I know the viewers can't see it, but good to see you glowing, smiling, and hopefully better days ahead for your Wolverhampton squad. Not this week, though, as we will be captaining the robot and expecting a couple goals. But after that, I'm excited to probably bring in Ryan at Nori into my side, and
Love
hopefully I'll actually be watching Wolves games with you on the weekend. That's gonna be fucking weird to show up on the pod on Monday or Tuesday and be like breaking down Wolves in a we're gonna have to double Wolves corner. It's gonna go from 60 seconds to 120.
Yeah, and you can join me in my pain every single week.
Yeah,
So
good lord.
look forward to
It's
that.
gonna be 0 pointers coming in is gonna hurt for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, please follow us on social at FPL USA Press Play. We are all over all the usual places like X, Instagram, and TikTok. And Dan, you can be followed by your many thousands of followers at FPL_Black Wolf. You can find me at FPL USA Brian. Thanks again for tuning in and good luck. Let's get some fucking green arrows and get out of this international break nonsense and have the footy back.